think she's here. I think there's probably a third party involved.
I always expected, Nikki to come walking through the door. I expected it to be just a horrendous nightmare that we were 100% going to wake up from at any minute.
Are you comfortable, Paul?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you actually just start by just telling me who you are? Are you comfortable, Paul?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you actually just start by just telling me who you are?
Pull up a chair, have a cup of tea, because we'll be discussing more, are they red flags on the Nicola Bulley case. Welcome to Aldon's Reviews and True Crime. Let's talk Louise. Louise, if you're out there, if you do want to chat, I can do a live with you, no problem. I can also do a live with the partner of Nicola, that is Paul. Paul, are you out there? We can reach out and we can clear a few matters up. You've already had interviews with the BBC, which was very, very interesting. So I'll get into it straight away, shall I? Louise Cunningham, you lived with Nicola and Paul. That was a bit... I'm old-fashioned, so to me that's a bit strange to have your sister live with the two children. That's Paul and Nicola's two children, and with Paul as well. So I don't know. It depends how well you get on, or how well you get on. I wouldn't like to suggest anything, but these things do happen. So Miss or Mrs. Cunningham, so I believe you do have a husband, but you don't see him very often. I don't know what's happened there, and I don't want to pry. None of my business as such. But then again, in a case like this, it kind of is public interest. It was released to the public, and they wanted to know of anything that would help find Nicola at the time she was missing. So we have, I wouldn't say it was a red flag, but living together, perhaps you'd like to explain that one as such, what happened there. So I know that many people would live together as families, but it would just seem a bit strange. And I know the undertones, and people out there are going to make assumptions, aren't they? I wouldn't suggest myself that there was a possible affair, but within these type of cases, these things have to be looked into and talked about. I know the police aren't interested, cut and dry with them. They were looking for a body in the river. They didn't find the body, and then miraculously the clairvoyant found that body, even pointed to the exact spot the body was in and was found. Okay, we can look at the clairvoyant, can't we, and say, oh, the clairvoyant must have had something to do with that. Which apparently they did. And he didn't. He was a clairvoyant. And we can be skeptical, like some of the media are very skeptical on clairvoyance. But there are too many things that have happened with clairvoyance. How many times have you heard of somebody saying the clairvoyant couldn't possibly know? I'm not giving them any clues about anything or any of my family, and they've got everything correct. How many children they have, how many marriage unions they've had. But this has happened, and I'm saying maybe 30, 20, I don't know, 20 might be actually gifted. The other 80% might be involved and very good, and they can turn over cards, and they can have an interpretation with help and read them. That's fine. Some of them, possibly like in every kind of, say, business, shall we say, has frauds. In this case, I don't think he was a fraud. Mr. Rothwell, I don't think he were a fraud, because you found the body. So how can skeptics say, oh, clairvoyants, they're useless. Why do we want them involved in the case? Many foreign police will use clairvoyants. UK police are a little bit reluctant, but in this time, I'm so glad, in that time of finding the Nicola Bulley body, I'm so glad They were compliant. Otherwise, they could have just dismissed it and said, "What a load of rubbish. Stop wasting police time. We're not going to look in again on the river," in which they found the body 6 minutes. So I gather you made a big thing apparently about Nicola having some sort of mental health issue. Paul, you also mentioned her having mental health issues. She's very vibrant as well. She's very voiceful. So I've made my own checks on this, and my sources, I believe 99%. That's pretty good odds, isn't it? 99%. So Nicola apparently never had mental health issues. She had some pre-menopausal or early menopausal issues as such, and she had to take some lavender oil, as also you made public she has lavender oil to help her calm down and sleep from that, as many people do with pre-menopausal issues. But she didn't have any major suicide riskal type depression in that way, so she didn't have suicidal thoughts. And this is also on her medical records that she didn't have any suicidal thoughts.
When they set off, like any other morning, so I rang the police as I was driving.
Has anybody seen her this morning, as far as you're aware, apart from yourself?
No. I mean, people probably saw her when she dropped the kids off, but I don't know if she spoke to anyone. She has been struggling with her mental health, so it's very concerning.
The last few months it had its challenges.
So when you say she's been struggling with her mental health lately, does she have mental health issues?
No, not really, but she's been going through the pre-menopause, and that's given her a lot of issues.
Right, okay.
You know, she'd taken herself off somewhere, unable to cope.
She had been struggling a bit, and she's been a bit up and down.
When I got there, got handed Willow, and then I was handed Nikki's phone, and I just sort of stood there like, what?
Menopausal issues. So all sorts of maybe mild depression. You would know more than I if you're going through this. Not a very nice thing. But that was a year previous. And you made an issue of saying that you had to call an ambulance once. And she was very angry with you, wasn't she? Nicola was very angry at you calling an ambulance, where she had a certain episode where she was struggling a bit with the menopausal symptoms, etc. So why mention it? And why did Paul in the interview, the very unemotional Paul in his 99 call, it was like he was ordering a taxi or a pizza, wasn't it, on the phone? It was very, very unemotional. I mean, you'd think the worst, wouldn't you? And the school ring you and say that Nicola's gone missing, and you suddenly, your dog is waiting at the bench, and you're suddenly not kind of emotional, just saying, oh, she went missing, blah, 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 blah. Also, a fact, non-fact, I meant to say non-fact, non-factual. Can anyone put a light on this? Because I've had 2 people in my comments, I don't like to mention, they also have handles, so they don't want to be known really, because some of them don't put their real names down. But they've also said the CCTV was doctored as such, and the dog, in one of the videos, the dog was walking backwards, so it was kind of reversed, and there were things on that video that just didn't look right. It's almost like it was doctored, and it's also like voices were raised. Now, previous footage of CCTV of them coming in and out of the house, their voices weren't raised, but on this occasion voices were, and it was like they were kind of making a point to show that they were on the CCTV at a particular time or something. And if she did have suicidal thoughts, I don't know about you and me, but she's a dog lover. I'm a kind of dog lover too. And I would not leave my dog by a bench while I went in and did the suicidal act. It would just be cruel, wouldn't it? I would also not have a Teams call with her job role as a mortgage advisor. Was it advisor? I would not leave that phone running on that call when I want to do something to myself, to self-harm. I wouldn't do that, would you? It just seems strange. Just seemed very odd. Also, somebody walking along that river saw a man in black with a beanie hat on, looking suspicious. The police never made a big deal about that one. I think it's like, in a way, if you have an expensive bicycle and it gets stolen and the police don't want to know. They just want to give out a number for an insurance code. Excuse me. Rosie, you seem very vocal today. You really want to say on it too, because you're a dog, aren't you? So what goes through a dog's mind? If only dogs could talk. All they can do is bark, isn't it? So the police didn't want to do anything about the man in black and make extensive inquiries anywhere, the phone data, etc., following a particular person, seeing if they wear black. Don't know. People are attacked at rivers quite often, and why? Why? Because there are no CCTV cameras. It can be a good place perhaps to see a young girl on her own walking along. Makes her vulnerable. And for these certain types that think in this way, or don't think in any type of way, do they really? Because they're animals. Sorry, Rosie. So what do we think in the comments? Do you think that we should just leave it be? Obviously the police, as in the Victoria Taylor case, which is current, as I say, they don't find anything untoward and no third parties are involved. She was in the river, she slipped or committed the heinous act of suicide, and that's it. Oh, there is something else. Save the best till last. One huge thing was the injuries on the autopsy. Nicola Bulley. If she'd fallen into the river, it's quite a shallow river, she would die of a head injury because there's a rock underneath the surface. That's the only thing I can think of, really. She was a good swimmer, brilliant swimmer. So if your life depended on it and your dog's on the bench, near the bench, your dog would probably be in the river, my dog would be in the river after me, you'd probably get ashore in some way, wouldn't you? So I presume she hit her head. Why did she have bruises on her body? On her thigh? Over her body. Why was this? What were the bruises? And a broken eye socket. If we have any forensics that carry out autopsies, perhaps they could supply your conclusion of what you think of the injuries. Bruises, when you're thrashing around in the water, would you get bruises? You might drown. If you'd originally hit your head, you would pass out, so you wouldn't get any further bruises. Did she hit her eye socket? If she did, that would probably be a lot of force and knock you out. Would you get any more bruises on your body? She had bruises on her legs, apparently. Numerous. If somebody that's carried out the autopsy on Nicola would like to come on board and talk about it, then please do. So I want to hear from Paul, and I want to hear from Miss or Mrs. Cunningham, Nicola's sister. How are you getting on with your husband now? I presume you're living in a different house than Paul now. So, yeah, just come and alleviate suspicions, perhaps. And need the phone data. So if you could volunteer to do don't need your phone, the old phone, you can do via history checks on the data remotely. So we can check yours and Paul's phones, any messages, obviously a message that you would have sent in concern, wouldn't it? So all the messages, etc. I presume you presented your phones at the time just to check. You do forget things, and when somebody else looks at the data on your phone and messages, they can kind of see more, because you probably weren't in a fit state to have a look and log things down, so it's easier if someone remotely does that. So I presume you've done that already. And anyone else? And the man in black. Might be jogging in black, mightn't you? I don't know what you're doing. Man in black at the time. Oh, and the red van people. Apparently it was a shabby red van. It was found in a car park of a pub. The pub that the night before Paul happened to be in, that same pub and car park. And the red van, there wasn't anything found or any traces found. Apparently so, forensics. I'm very surprised, being the police, thinking there was no third party involved. No third party involved checking the van. That would seem a bit beyond their remit. Lack of resources, lack of money on the case. Put down in the comments. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Rosie thanks you as well. She's been for a long walk today. And I must get back to work, really. Thank you. And please don't have any nasty dreams. And take care. Until the next video. Thank you.